Hi everyone, we are continuing to talk about the sum and difference properties. So our first example, we're given that sine of A is 1/2 and cosine of A is positive, and that tangent of B is 3/4 and sine of B is negative. Okay, and then they're asking us to find the exact value of sine of A minus B. So I'm going to use my sum and difference formula, in this case my distance formula for sine. So a quick reminder of what that looks like is sine of A minus B is equal to sine of A cosine of B minus cosine of A sine of B. Okay, so I'm just going to straight plug into that. So in this case, I know that sine of A is 1/2. Cosine of B is, it's not straight given to me, but I do know some things. It's just off to the side here. I know that tangent of B is the same thing as sine of B over cosine of B. And they told me this is 3/4. So I can say with some certainty that sine of B is 3 and cosine of B is 4. Right, so cosine of B I'm going to say is 4 minus cosine of A. Well, again, they didn't tell me what cosine of A is, but I can say with some certainty if sine of A is 1/2 that cosine of A is √3/2. And sine of B, they said, is 3. They did tell me that it's a -3 though. Okay, so in this case I get 2 plus 3√3/2 is my exact answer. Okay, moving on. Next they asked me to find the exact value of these three trig functions. Okay, so when we are asked to do something that's not specifically on the unit circle, but it's kind of a nice number like 15 or 75, I know that I can get to this number using values from the unit circle. What I mean by that is I can rewrite this as sine of 45 minus 30, because I know 45 minus 30 is 15. Then I can use my sine difference formula to get an exact answer. So plugging this into my sine difference formula, I'll end up with sine of 45 cosine of 30 minus cosine of 45 sine of 30. Okay, and again, just using values from the unit circle, I know that sine of 45 is √2/2, cosine of 30 is √3/2, cosine of 45 is √2/2, and then sine of 30 is 1/2. Simplifying this a little bit, I end up with √6/4 minus √2/4. And that's good enough for me. We can do this if you want. I'm not going to ask you to simplify that further. Okay, cosine of 75, same situation. So I can rewrite this as cosine of 45 plus 30. So with cosine, remember that if I have a plus sign on the inside of my parentheses, you will subtract your two quantities. So this will be cosine of 45 cosine of 30 minus sine of 45 sine of 30. So I'll use values again from the unit circle. And we end up with actually the exact same thing. Okay, last one we're asked to do is cosecant of 15, so we can rewrite this as, again, 45 minus 30. Cosecant and secant have their own special sum and difference formulas, so I'll write them for you right here. So cosecant of A plus or minus B is secant of A, secant of B, cosecant of A, cosecant of B, all divided by secant of A, cosecant of B, plus or minus cosecant of A, secant of B. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. Don't get messed up by this. Honestly, this is not something I'm going to ask you to memorize. It's just something that you have to know how to use. Secant has its own as well, so I'll write that for you here. So secant of A plus or minus B is secant of A, secant of B, cosecant, excuse me, cosecant of A, cosecant of B, all divided by cosecant of A, cosecant of B minus plus secant of A, secant of B. So I know it looks really long and intimidating, but honestly, don't worry about it. It's not something you have to memorize, but it is something that you should know how to use. Alright, so if I use my cosecant formula here, using 45 and 30, I'll end up with secant of 45, secant of 30, cosecant 45, cosecant 30, divided by secant 45, cosecant of 30, minus cosecant of 45, secant of 30. Okay, and then we could reduce this, but honestly, I don't care to. I'm not really going to ask you to do something like this very often. It's just good to know how to use this formula. Alright, that's it for these notes, and if you have any questions, let me know. Your homework is below, and I will see you all later.